Sacrimony allocuted in federal court, admitting at least a 10-year connection with La Cosa Nostra.
Fucking nauseating.
John Sacrimony
Could have been worse. He could have flipped.
Are you fucking kidding me? You don't ever admit the existence of this thing. Ever.
He should have stood trial like a man.
I did 20 fucking years.
So this is Louis, otherwise known as Philly from The Sopranos, when he's wearing his neck cast, because I tweaked my neck this morning and now it hurts. It's later in the evening and it still hurts. It's been hurting me all day. And recording this hurts because I have to lean forward. I probably shouldn't because I'm already loud, but I do it anyways because that's how you record commentaries. My neck hurts, and this video of Trump's ABC town hall, his answers were bad. I had Sargon bragging about his answers on Discord, being like, yo, Trump is the mastermind. Look at him out there giving these four-dimensional fucking utterly deflective, dishonest answers to these highly ideologically charged questions. And I'm never going to praise a politician for being dishonest. I'm never going to praise Trump for giving an answer and a response that Mitt Romney or Jeb Bush could have given, okay? I don't think that's worthy of praise, and I think that you are really, really missing the point when these are the responses. Could he absolutely be giving the worst responses possible of systemic racism and all that shit that you get from a Democrat? Sure. But this is one notch above that. It's not much better than that. It's simply non-answers. He's deflecting what the answer actually is into, well, I've done a lot for the economy, and sure, you can argue Trump has done that, and that's good. It helps everyone. It raises everyone up together. But to the questions being asked, he's not actually answering them. And the reason isn't because he can't answer them. It's because the answer is not politically correct to so many of the questions he's being asked at this stupid town hall. Even some including by alleged Republicans. They're asking these straight-up SJW questions. And the one who is a woman, it just goes to show, like, there's your woman vote. You know what I mean? That meme. Like, these are stereotypes, straight-up stereotypes. Asking these questions. And it includes this one with this fucking black preacher who's a fake Christian. Now, I gotta tell you that I know that many of the people listening to this are truer in the sense of being Christians, but here is the issue when it comes to fake Christians. When it comes to Christianity, when it comes to religion, faith, all that, you are dealing with morality in society and in real life, with people, your parishioners, but mainly you're dealing with faith, with the ethereal, with the spiritual, with things that deal with getting into heaven, doing right by God, God's judgment, all the things in the Bible, not just how you should live, but like what God expects of you, and everything revolving around the concept of a higher power than yourself in a plane of existence beyond that of the material world, okay? The issue that I take is when I listen to a preacher or a priest or anybody, a so-called Christian, whose entire basis of existence of what they preach about, when all it is the material world, you are a fake fucking Christian. And here's how I know this. Here's how I know that to be factual. I'm a fucking atheist. So all I'm relegated to is the fucking material world. I am a materialist. I'm not as far down the fucking line as all these crazy communists and whatnot, who don't see, are basically nihilists in terms of value of human life and consideration into that. But it's what I mean by materialism. It is like recognizing like. When all you're dealing with is the material world, and such a thing as material equality, you're not a fucking Christian. You're a fake fucking Christian. I don't care what you have to say. I don't care that you can try to push this into something that resembles spiritualism. All this is is the direct result of you being an acolyte of French collectivists. They exported their shit to America, you read it or you were indoctrinated into believing it, and that is your fucking faith. If I had the chance, would call this guy out on that. As a Christian, why is your primary concern material equality in the material world? Why is that all you're talking about? Why? Explain that to me. Because being that I grew up a Christian, a Catholic, you can debate, that was almost 0% of what was talked about in church school and in church, in Mass. If you relate to the material world, it's your priest telling some anecdote or a fucking joke or whatever, something that could touch on the material world. But most of this, if it isn't dealing with the spiritual, it's morality. Morality in the sense of what is good, but also what God expects of you. So it isn't just the carrot of being good, it's the stick of do this or you're going to go to fucking hell. Okay? When you're dealing with specifically the political, where it is totally inappropriate to the faith itself, I have to beg the fucking question why you're talking about it and what it has to do in any way with the teachings of Christ. What does any of this have to do with the teachings of Christ? Maybe I've missed a few years of church and I don't understand the new religion. The new religion where you don't talk about God. You don't talk about fucking morality outside of what you expect me to give you on the material plane. I need to open my wallet and give you some of my hard-earned money, although not very recently, because you deserve it for X reasons. Amen. What the fuck is this? So I don't know. Where are you Christians on this? Am I insane? Am I insane in this? To say that you got all these preachers and pastors and all this shit that are just preaching social justice Marxism, that read a bunch of bullshit or were indoctrinated into a bunch of French collectivist exported garbage, and that's their faith. And it has nothing to do with Christ, it has nothing to do with God, it has nothing to do with the spiritual world whatsoever. Am I crazy? Anyways, I front-loaded this enough. Let's watch this stupid fucking video. I'm going to skip ahead of Trump's answers. I'm going to speed them up because fuck your stupid deflective answers.
Another question on this subject from Pastor Carl Day. He's from Philadelphia, voted for Jill Stein last time.
How you doing, Mr. President?
Good.
You've coined the phrase, make America great again.
Right.
When has America been great for African Americans in the ghetto of America?
My father grew up incredibly poor. Likely poorer than many of the people listening to this. My father was not born in a middle-class family. He grew up incredibly poor in the projects. He went from being in the projects to living in a nice middle-class neighborhood, owning one of the nicest houses in the neighborhood. Not necessarily the biggest house, but a very nice house with a very healthy-sized plot of land. Makes my house look like a fucking shitbox in comparison. How did my father... And this is the question I asked to this fucking black preacher. How did my father go from the projects, where some of my family still lives, to a nice middle-class neighborhood in a big house with a big-ass plot of land with a family? How did he manage that while growing up and living in dire circumstances? That's the question I asked to you, and I'm not going to fucking answer.
You've coined the phrase, make America great again.
Right.
When has America been great for African Americans in the ghetto of America?
I would say it would be prior to the coining and creation of black identitarianism, which was created and perpetuated by white leftists, or white in quotations, to some of these people. And you have to recognize it. To who started this in America, it wasn't black people. They just became the puppets and the mouthpieces and the acolytes of these people. I would say prior to that, because I think many of us who are sane would like to live in a unified, harmonious nation with everyone of whatever skin pigmentation. The question is, will you allow us to live in that country? And seemingly the answer is no. Plenty enough white people want to live in a multi-culti, nice, suburban nation. But you won't let us be that.
Are you aware of how tone deaf that comes off to African American community?
Like I say, this African American support, you've also been extremely well with African Americans, Latin Americans, you've really seen Republican. If you talk about American rate, if you look at just prior to, and I'm talking about for the black community, you look just prior to this horrible situation coming in from China with the virus statement, that was probably the highest point of homeownership for the black community. Homeownership, lower crime, the best jobs they've had, highest income, the best employment numbers they've had. If you go back and look over the years, you can just go back 6 or 7 months from now. That was the best single moment in the history of the African American people in this country. I think, I would say.
Well, I mean, your statement is, though, make it great again. So historically, the African American experience, especially in these ghettos that have been redlined, historically, these ghettos that have systemically been set up and treated the way that they have been, the conditions of the drugs, the guns, and everything else that actually created the symptoms for what we see, that you profess to be just the democratic cities in themselves. These things have historically been happening for African Americans in these ghettos, and we have not been seeing a change. Quite frankly, under your administration, under the Obama's administration, under the Bush, under the Clinton, the very same things happen, and the very same systems and cycles continue to ensue. And we need to see, because you say again, we need to see when was that great, because that pushes us back to a time in which we cannot identify with such greatness. And I mean, you've said everything else about choking and everything else, but you have yet to address and acknowledge that there's been a race problem in America.
Hey, genius, let me hold your hand for you and be your white shepherd, be your white guardian. Maybe this is a problem you need to fix. Maybe this is a problem black people need to fix. Maybe this isn't a problem the state or white people can fix. That's what you expect by this question. You expect white people to solve your problems for you. But that's not our prerogative. If we're going to make this racial, it's not our prerogative to help you. And the fact is that you name all these, you rattle off all these administrations. What do you expect? And I mean, I know the answer to that, by the way. And so I'll delve into the Socratic method again by answering the question with a question. Will you ever be satisfied living in a white majority nation? Forget everything else. That's the question I have for you, Pastor. Can you imagine yourself living satisfied, fulfilled in a white majority nation? I would fucking love to hear his response to that. I can't imagine the shit that would come pouring out of his mouth, because I think that would be an incendiary enough response or question that he would explode. Because this guy seems incredibly ideologically charged. And I think that my responses to him would be incendiary enough to where he would just spark off. He would just fly off the fucking handle and just go. And I think that's fine. I want this guy to get past all this systemic institutions of systems and just go straight into the nitty-gritty of what he believes and what he desires. And that first question, like I say, it's a baited question. It's a trap question. Because I think so much of this is just white people owe us Wakanda. And guess what, buddy boy? We already created Liberia. Fucking go there. We already created a nation for you. Go live there. Because if that's not an acceptable response to you, these are your problems. These are not the problems of white people. You living in the ghetto? My father grew up in the projects. You know what he did? He moved the fuck out. How did he manage that? Well, I'm not going to answer you. You know, take those 2 brain cells you got. You're smart enough to understand a bunch of French collectivist bullshit. Take those brain cells, rub them together. Create some friction. Find out that fucking answer for yourself. Of how my father went from the projects to a nice middle-class home. Nicer than mine. Idyllic middle-class home. How did he get there? Answer the question for your fucking self.
So if you know, well, this is not a response, I have great respect for all this, but we go back 6 months, and you can look at what was happening. You can't compare that with past administrations. We look at income levels.
And a lot of things, because of the job situation where they had the lowest income, the best unemployment numbers they've ever had, the black community by far. And that was solving a lot of problems.
Hey, Trump, let me throw you a bone. You know, let me throw you a phone a friend. And I'll give you the answer. Ring, ring. hey, Mr. President, it's Louis. They're not interested in fucking jobs! And by that, I mean the preacher or pastor. And I am, in fact, interested in a job.
I was starting to get just before this was I was starting to get calls from Democrats that, hey, it's starting to work. Let's get together. People that you would never thought this would happen with. It was going to be but unfortunately, that was hurt. Now.
I think next year is going to be one of our best years economically.
But income equality is still, income equality is higher. So, I mean, jobs can be produced, but at the same time, in a lot of these big major cities where African Americans are underserved, under-resourced, that's an $8 hour job. Does not mean that they can necessarily afford to live where they have to live or where they've been living at for the last 20 years.
Oh my fucking God. Like, this shit to me is, I don't know. I don't even know how to compare this. Square peg in a round fucking hole. Let me take your hand. You can keep hold of the peg, and I will move it to the fucking square hole for you, for crying out loud. If you live in an area you can't afford, like New York City, don't live in fucking New York City. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine? I live in a neighborhood that's incredibly expensive, where the homes are incredibly expensive, the apartments are incredibly expensive. What you do is you stand up and you walk away from that area. You pick up your cellular phone that no matter how poor you are, you somehow have a smartphone. You look online, you find a cheap apartment in a cheap area, and you'll live there. My God, it's like splitting a fucking atom. I must be some kind of certified fucking genius, and I even went to a state college. How is this even possible? How did I come to this knowledge? It must be God. It's a miracle. God came down from heaven. Jesus Christ touched me and provided me this fucking knowledge. That if you live in an expensive area, you move to a cheaper area. Come to Buffalo where it's cheaper. Because everyone here is poor. Ish. Fuck me.
Well, the income inequality, which I agree with you, is a problem. Well, the income inequality, which I agree with you, is a problem. I always agreed with that. But if you look under President Obama and Biden, the income inequality was phenomenal. It was record-setting. It was. It's
terrible. Getting worse now.
Fucking why? There is a restaurant just down the road from me. Very close. It's the closest restaurant to where I live. And I used to order food from them and pick up food from them all the time. Good place. Why is that nice restaurant, small restaurant, owned by a family, why is it now closed and Walmart and Amazon are still setting record profits? How are those things happening? Small business closing forever. It's done. It's not coming back. I've already asked somebody who knows the owners. It's not coming back. Why is that small business closed? Why is Amazon and Walmart setting record profits? Why? I swear to fucking God that I am... If a libertarian goes postal and pulls a Christchurch 2.0 to reopen the state and reopen my county, this area, like, I will fucking celebrate them. They will be a fucking martyr. They will be in the right. Because I can't understand why everyone is so fucking stupid. We shut down the whole fucking economy except for big businesses. And you talk about income inequality. How do you think it occurred? Because of the fucking state. It's getting worse. No shit.
Well, we're talking about before the play. We're doing very well. We're also doing fantastic 34, 36, GDP that's mid-20s, mid-20s, 35. These are all records we're talking about. And you know, very good next year. But I agree with a lot of things you say, but you have to look back because we really had it going well. Had we not been hit by this horrible disease that came to our land, all over the world, we would be in a position where I think equality would be different. It was really good. We were really different.
But even before the pandemic, the average black family was earning half of what the average white family was earning, even if you hold education constant.
I have seen research, and I'm not going to bother to look it up, but I've talked about this either on a stream or I posted it on Twitter. It was one of these, and I think it wasn't through Pew, but Pew tweeted it out. It was somebody else, that they grouped together whites and Asians to talk about fucking so-called income inequality. And dude, they are so desperate to not talk about the why. And the fact that just because you have a mean or median, whatever, to where whites are over that of blacks, that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean anything. That isn't... It's evidence. It's a white supremacist, a conspiracy that also includes Asians for some fucking reason. And so that's why, to me, that was the greatest example I've ever seen, where they either excluded Asians altogether, which I know I've showed you in the past, of income inequality. They don't show Asians as a demographic because they make up the top 10 entirely, including a bunch of Jews, of the most prosperous demographics in America. It's not whites. We're down the list. You take that example, it doesn't prove anything. I am not as rich as Jeff Bezos or Donald Trump. So what does that mean? Fucking nothing. So why then would it mean anything as it relates to black people on average? Why is it that you say these statistics, you cite these statistics, and you say, well, what does this mean? Oh, this has to mean something. No, it doesn't. It doesn't mean fucking anything. And if the answer is, like with Kyle Kalinske, like, oh, schools, public schools, okay, guess what? Let's go in, let's fire every public educator, let's dissolve forcefully the teachers' unions, and let's privatize the entire education sector to make it more effective for the poor black people. We're mistreating them so much. Racism, blah, 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 systemic systems of structures of institutions. Okay, that includes every Democrat-controlled city, the Democrat unions, and the Democrat-controlled schools. Okay, let's eliminate all of that. Let's have a revolution and start from fucking scratch. And that's going to be a completely privatized system. You want to do that? No. Because you're fucking retarded or dishonest. Pick one. With Kyle, he's fucking retarded. These numbers mean nothing. They mean absolutely nothing. And unfortunately, Trump is either unable or unwilling to give a response to deal with this follow-up by this jerk-off at ABC. And you know what my response would be if I was in this situation? I don't remember if he says it right here about, oh, material equality, whatever. He says something to that extent, and so does the black guy, obviously. It's the gist of all of this. I would say to this faggot from ABC, give me your wallet. He'd be like, oh, why? Blah, blah. No, give me your wallet. Hand me your wallet. I'll answer your question. Give me your wallet. I would hope that he would give me his wallet. Otherwise, I would say, okay, we're done. I'm going to walk off. We're done. Give me your wallet. I would take this millionaire faggot's wallet. I would take out his credit cards and his money. And I'd walk up and I'd hand that black guy that money and those credit cards. And I'd say, pass them along to whoever you think needs help monetarily. That's what you want. That's what this faggot on the stage wants. That's what this fake Christian pastor wants. That's what you fucking want. You want us to transfer wealth from whites to blacks. Because apparently I lifted the wallet of a black man. So did my father. That's the answer to the mystery. Pull off the mask of my dad. He lifted a wallet from a black man when he was a kid, and that's how he bought a nice middle-class house. Do you really think that occurred? And do you think that lifting the wallet of this faggot at ABC is going to fix anything? No. What our pastor friend here needs to do is tell his quote-unquote community to get a fucking job, spend your entire life working hard, and hope that you make it, and hope that you give your shitty ingrate kids a better life than you had. That is the answer. That is the answer to all of this. It's not anything that I can give you, and anything that you take from me to transfer to someone who doesn't deserve it is inherently immoral. That is inherently immoral for you to give something to somebody who doesn't deserve it from somebody who doesn't have a choice in the matter. And that's the moral lecture that I'm trying to give by taking this guy's wallet and giving the contents to the black pastor. It's to illustrate what you are calling for, whether you say it or not. That's what you want to happen. If you don't want it to happen to you, then how is it fair to do it to me? And if you do find it fair for this guy to get your credit cards and the contents of your wallet, your cash and that, if it is fair, then go fucking do it! We need to link up the bourgeois left with the blacks. It'd be like a human centipede, except for money. You could shit money into these communities and they could piss it away because they're impulsive buyers and they make every bad choice fucking conceivable. So their lives will never get any better no matter how much money you pump in and shit out. But if that's what you want to do, let's create that link between the white bourgeois left and the fucking blacks. That way it's fucking voluntary and it leaves me out of it. Because I know it's not going to fix anything, and the outcome is just going to be the same as it was if you put no money in. If anybody's going to get robbed at gunpoint by Uncle Sam, let it be you, not me. Because I already know this isn't going to work. If you're delusional enough to think it is, that this is somehow going to change anything, like we haven't been pumping trillions into this deficit, this moral and personal integrity, this personal characteristic deficit for generations. If you think another trillion is going to make a difference, let it be your money. Put your money where your mouth is. Why must it include me?
I can only compare it to the past. The African American, the black community was doing better than it had ever done by far, both in terms of unemployment, home ownership, so many different statistics, even in terms of
But there was still a gap between blacks and white.
Fucking nauseating.
So that's the end of that video. And because of how long this has gone, I will just end the commentary here. So thanks for listening.